You can't trust either side. You can't. There's no way that anybody can sit back here and tell me otherwise. Because you got to look at it in this way too. Cambodia is being pretty much bought out by all these different entities. And all these different entities. Hey everyone, welcome to Monsters 24 Reacts. Hopefully you guys are doing well and are in high spirits. I came across this video on YouTube. It was on my timeline feed. And I thought it was quite interesting. And the video is called "What Makes Cambodia DNA So Unique?" Now, I was just like, wow, you know, like this is interesting because I always felt like this magical feeling when it comes to Cambodia, especially when I was there. And it was just so serene to me, so divine. And it made me want to look into Cambodia even more and wonder why people feel as though Cambodia is this bad place, that this is this gutter type place. And I think it's because it has everything to do with what society want us to see about Cambodia, because they are trying to slowly take Cambodia's spirit, their culture, their identity. So I wanted to basically get to that point at the end of the video. But for right now, I'm going to go straight to the reaction. If you have any questions or concerns, and if you have anything you want to talk about, we could go online live and speak on whatever topic you want to speak on about Cambodia, about, you know, the struggles between living there and the Khmer rule, or anything that you want to speak about. I'm open to it. And I just want to learn more about what it is that Cambodia has to offer, you know, hence that's why I made these videos and try to get a better understanding of what's going on. So anyway, here's the reaction. Hopefully you like it.
What if the world's oldest genetic story wasn't buried in African deserts or hidden in the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia, but quietly pulsing in the blood of modern-day Cambodians? In 2012, archaeologists uncovered a single human skeleton in a dusty tomb at Angkor Borei, and its DNA told a story no one expected. Not only was it ancient, it was unexpected. Nearly half of her ancestry pointed to South India, from a time when written history was still in its infancy. But this is only one piece of a deeper mystery, because Cambodian DNA doesn't just tell one story, it tells many. Stories of Ice Age survivors, Neolithic farmers, forgotten kingdoms, and migrations that crossed oceans long before maps were drawn. This isn't mythology. This is science, and it's rewriting everything we thought we knew about where Cambodians come from, and what their DNA reveals about all of us. Long before temples rose from the jungle and kingdoms carved their names into stone, Cambodia was already alive, not with empire, but with endurance. Deep within the DNA of modern Cambodians lies a signature that stretches back more than 50,000 years, to some of the earliest humans who ever set foot in Southeast Asia.
I would also say that it's more than 50,000 years. It's more so 40 to 70,000 years. And as far as the DNA is concerned, all of us have a DNA makeup in which it shows our origins. Like for us, they can trace a lot of ancient Americans, especially the indigenous Americans, hundreds of thousands of years. You know, they could go back all the way before any settlers or anything. That era is pretty much just how it was, especially at that time. And people at that time did a lot of trades. They go back and forth. They did a lot of, you know, farming. They learned how to live through harsh lifestyles. And even when they started building technology and stuff like that here in America, like the pyramids and stuff like this, that nobody really talk about, it's just one of those things was, though, basically what I'm trying to say is that it is already in our genes. So Cambodia, on the other hand, has that same ancient gene, more so anybody else for their DNA. And I want to, like I said, I'm gonna go into that in depth after this, but I figure I'll just throw that out there.
These weren't farmers or builders. They were hunter-gatherers, known today through a culture archaeologists call the Hoabinhian. They left no written language, but their legacy lives on, in the bones of ancient graves, and in the unbroken maternal lines, passed from mother to child over thousands of generations. Modern genetic studies have revealed that Cambodians carry mitochondrial haplogroups, like M59, M69, and M78, that are not just rare, but ancient. These lineages are direct echoes of humanity's earliest migration out of Africa. They've survived ice ages, floods, plagues, and wars, quietly traveling through time in the blood of a people who never forgot the land they called home. And what's remarkable,
And also, I want to mention too, because he said from Africa. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something about that. A lot of us did travel all over this globe, this world, so to speak. So it's not just Africa that we was settled in, and then we started traveling outside. We was already traveling. We already had the the mindset of a navigator to want to trade to this country, go trades to that country. So we already had that mindset, like the modern mindset that we have, that we want to go to the trading stock and learn about trade and do more trades and get more money. Like we already had that mindset. So it's not like, I mean, maybe it's new to these people that's discovering ancient DNA, but far as I could remember, especially my ancestors, we was already here. So most of the time when we say, oh, Africa, you know, these people came from Africa, they moved, migrated to this country, that's not always the case. We was always navigators. We was always people that would travel all over and start building life there if it wasn't nothing there. So, and I'm saying this in simpler terms, but we want to keep going.
is this. Even after waves of migration, conquest, and cultural change, these ancient lineages remain dominant in Cambodia's rural regions. They weren't erased by time, they were anchored by it. Cambodia didn't just inherit ancient DNA, it preserved it. If your DNA held secrets from before recorded history, would you want to know?
Yes.
Thousands of years after the first hunter-gatherers shaped Cambodia's genetic foundation, a new chapter began, not with conquest, but with quiet transformation.
Yep.
Around 4,000 years ago, migrants from southern China
Yep.
began moving southward. They brought
Yep.
rice, livestock,
Mhm.
pottery, and an entirely new way of life. These were the early Austroasiatic speakers.
Yes. And also with that being said, as far as how Thai was pretty much brought up into civilization now, a lot of people, especially from the South Asia and China, they would go down to South Asia to do trades and do so. We all had that mindset of wanting to do trades and stuff like this. So this is nothing new. The narrator, the way he explained it is good. I like the way that he's speaking on it, and I think that is pretty much like something that we need to know the basics of. But this narrator doesn't go really in depth about it, who it is exactly, other than he says people that migrated from Africa. But like I said, we did trades everywhere. It was trades all over the globe. It doesn't matter who you were. We did trades everywhere.
Their arrival would forever reshape the DNA of Southeast Asia. But here's what makes Cambodia's story unique. The newcomers didn't erase the past. They wove themselves into it. Instead of replacing the Hoabinian people, they merged with them. Over generations, their genes, languages, and cultures fused, creating something entirely new. A population that looked forward, but still carried the deep memory of what came before. Today, modern Cambodians are living evidence of that fusion.
And this is what they try to do, honestly. I hate to keep pausing it, but I want y'all to understand. They try to dilute and confuse y'all and bring all these extra distractions to y'all and make our spirits feel really low. Because they know that once we awaken our DNA code, once we awaken who we really truly are, that's what they're afraid of. They know we're going to fight back. They know that we're going to have some type of get back for what they did to us. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up.
Their genetic profiles show a blend of ancient hunter-gatherer ancestry and Neolithic East Asian DNA. And that blend isn't shallow. It's rich, complex, and regionally distinct. In the countryside, ancient signatures dominate. In cities, the mix is deeper. But everywhere, the story remains the same. Cambodia didn't forget its roots. It adapted and survived. Can two entirely different civilizations meet and become one? Not through conquest, but through connection? In 2012, deep in the ruins of Angkor Borei, archaeologists uncovered a human skeleton from the 1st to 3rd century CE, long before the rise of the Angkor Empire. At first glance, it was a typical burial, offerings, posture, placement. But when scientists sequenced her DNA, they were stunned. Nearly half of her ancestry, 42 to 49%, traced directly to South India. This wasn't just a case of shared ancient roots. This was recent, direct genetic mixing, likely during the early days of the Funan Kingdom, one of Southeast Asia's first major states. And it rewrote everything. because up until that moment, historians believed Indian influence in Cambodia came through trade.
So they had to keep y'all distracted by rewriting everything about the history of Cambodia, of any type of history they trying to get rid of. But I figure I'll bring that up.
Art and religion. But this DNA told a deeper story of people, not just ideas, of migration, not just goods, of marriages, families, and shared bloodlines between ancient South Indians and early Cambodians. She wasn't a visitor. She was a daughter of two worlds, and her very existence proved that global connection had reached Cambodia centuries before many believed it possible. And if one such burial existed, how many more remain undiscovered? Before the temples, before the kings, there were families, and their stories are still written in our blood. For decades, scientists believed Cambodia was a crossroads, a place where migrants passed through, where empires flowed in and out. But new genetic evidence suggests something far more surprising. Cambodia wasn't just a receiver. It was a source.
Yes.
Deep analysis of ancient genomes reveals that certain lineages found across Southeast Asia, and even parts of Oceania, may have originated in or radiated out from Cambodia, rather than being a forgotten corner of prehistory. This region may have served as a dispersal hub, launching early populations into Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and beyond. The reason: geography. Cambodia is a natural cradle, with rivers that fed inland routes, coastlines that opened to the sea, and fertile plains that could support large, stable populations. In a time when human movement was driven by survival, Cambodia gave people a reason to stay and a path to move. Even today, Cambodians carry genetic fingerprints found in distant Austroasiatic communities, from tribal groups in India to hill peoples in Laos. These aren't just similarities. They're clues. Clues that Cambodia may have helped seed the genetic landscape of an entire region. What if your ancestors weren't just shaped by history, but helped shape the genetics of half a continent? Empires rise. Empires fall. But DNA endures.
But I'm gonna tell you something which is funny, because I feel like our empire here, especially the indigenous people in Americas, we feel like we had an empire, and we once was the people that they look up to when foreigners came and migrated here in this country. And I feel the same way with Cambodia. When the people did trades in Cambodia, like Vietnam, China, and all these other places, they saw a culture that they wanted to emulate. They wanted to be that culture. And I'm not trying to sound like, oh, I'm hating all these other, countries. It's not about that. It's more so just putting light on the true barriers of what it is that history is pretty much not teaching anyone. So I wanted to see this because I wanted to hear everything he had to say, because it seemed like he knows exactly what it is that, I need to listen to. But he's actually on point with this whole thing. I don't know if it's AI, it might be AI, but this narrator is really on point with everything.
Cambodia has known the heights of glory and the depths of colonization. The Khmer Empire once ruled over vast swaths of Southeast Asia, leaving behind architectural marvels like Angkor Wat. And yet, even its grandeur was temporary.
Beautiful.
Foreign invasions, centuries of colonization, and modern political trauma have tested the Cambodian people again and again. And still, their genome tells a story of remarkable continuity. Genetic studies show that despite waves of cultural transformation, Cambodia's core ancestral signature, a blend of ancient Hoabinian and Austroasiatic DNA, remains dominant, especially in rural communities. Colonization may have changed names, languages, and borders, but it didn't rewrite bloodlines. Even as new genetic influences entered from India, China, France, the foundation remained rooted. Where other regions show sweeping genomic turnover after colonial contact, Cambodia's deep ancestry persisted beneath the surface, like bedrock under shifting soil. That resilience isn't just biological, it's historical. It's cultural. It's the story of a people who adapted without erasing their past. You can take the land, you can change the map, but the DNA remembers. For most people, identity is shaped by language, culture, maybe a family tree. But in Cambodia, identity runs deeper, into the cells, the chromosomes, the silent legacy carried in every heartbeat. Modern Cambodians walk with the memory of thousands of years inside them. From Ice Age foragers to Neolithic farmers, from South Indian seafarers to Khmer queens, their DNA is not a relic. It's a living library. That discovery matters, not just scientifically, but personally. Because for centuries, Cambodian identity was narrowed by history books, politics, and pain. Colonial powers tried to reshape it. War tried to erase it. And
Now, this is what I mean, and this is what I wanted to talk about at the end. As he said, colonial, like, it's like this whole thing about the distraction thing of the colonialism of the country, how they try to pretty much come in, take over, pillage the resources, and that's it. They don't care about the actual historical facts about the country of Cambodia. All they care about is batting in their pockets. And the government, they, oh my God, I don't want to even say it right now, but it's just that they play hand in hand, you know, and you got to be careful of who put in office or who you want to be a dictator, because they could be also laying in bed with the other side. And both of them is oppressing the people, their own people and your people. So it's a really crazy game that they play.
yet, the genome refused to forget. Today, as scientists uncover these ancient
But your
lineages,
DNA won't forget.
Cambodians are reclaiming something that was always theirs: the right to know where they come from, and to be proud of the complexity that shaped them. And it's not just about Cambodia. Their DNA carries connections to people across Asia, and even to distant corners of the globe. In a world obsessed with borders, Cambodia's genome is a quiet reminder that our histories are shared, and our origins far more intertwined than we think. Who we are is never just one thing. And in Cambodia's case, it's everything: ancient, mixed, resilient, and still unfolding. Cambodian DNA isn't just unique, it's sacred. Not in the religious sense, but in the way it holds stories that no scroll, monument, or empire ever could. It is one of the oldest surviving genetic mosaics on Earth, crafted by migrations that predate civilization, shaped by empires, and tested by centuries of change. From Hoabinhian foragers to Indian voyagers, from the rise of Funan to the legacy of Angkor, every chapter has been quietly written into the body of a people who refuse to be forgotten. And now, with every ancient burial unearthed, every genome sequenced, a new sentence is added to the story. A story not just of Cambodia, but of all humanity. Because in the end, DNA doesn't lie. It doesn't follow borders. It doesn't bow to politics. It remembers. Maybe the real power of Cambodian DNA isn't just how unique it is, but how deeply it connects us all. If this story changed how you see identity, hit the like button, share it forward, and drop a comment. What part of your DNA would you want to understand more deeply?
Yes, this is a great video. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is perfect, especially on what I'm about to say here right now about Cambodia and everything that revolves around Cambodia and their ancient DNA, and why people hate on Cambodia so much. Now, this is just my opinion and how I see things, and the reason why I'm saying it this way is because this kind of goes to what I was saying in my previous videos about how the indigenous Americans also got into a situation where as though we've been, taken advantage of, and land's been taken away from us, and a lot of stuff that happened to us, and especially like the Native Americans, because there's a difference between the indigenous Indian American and the Native Americans. They're not indigenous to this land at all. So with that being said, everything they saw when they came here in this landmass, they wanted to emulate, they wanted to take, they wanted to be a part of, they wanted to make sure that they stamped themselves here. So they had their focus on pretty much taking over, because our people was so nice enough to let them stay, do trades, even took care of their children when they was brought here on the boats, all these things. So our history was totally reversed. And unfortunately, we became 14, 17 different identities. And it's just ridiculous that we don't even know who we truly are as the indigenous people in this landmass. Now, back to Cambodia. There's been a lot of gripe going on between Thai and Cambodia borders and stuff like this. And I'm gonna tell y'all, this is way deeper than just the border and land mass. I'm sure that the governor in Cambodia and also the governor in Thailand knows what's really going on. I'm sure they have an idea of what's happening. What it is that they are pretty much working hand in hand with each other. They are taking resources from the Gulf Ocean of Thailand because it has undersea oils and everything that goes on in the land might have oils in the land. So this is like $1 billion stake that they're trying to pretty much work with. And unfortunately, the people that's in Cambodia in that side of the border is casualties of it. And you got to also understand that they had this whole thing of going against Thai and Cambodia for so long that Thai, I'm sure they already know, because hence the ICJ or IJC thing that they're supposed to go to court or whatever the case is, they haven't. And, you know, that side of the spear, like all this stuff is a distraction to me. All this stuff is pretty much just them trying to take away the spirit of Cambodia overall. Because Cambodia, like I said, they're pretty much nice people. They welcome in. Their, you know, their culture is really rich and historically phenomenal. And it's just something that you can't replicate. And as Thai being only 50,000, 40,000 years into, you know, building their empire, they emulated a lot of that stuff from Cambodia there. Just like a lot of the cultures and all around that area emulated Cambodia. Cambodia, honestly, is the source. And I'm sure nobody want to treat their country where they're from bad or say anything, but you got to really get to a point where, as though, you have to admit that this is what it is. And I think in order to stop this senseless wars and all these craziness that goes on in the media, all the propaganda that goes in the media, you had to admit that the truth is always going to be within the people. It doesn't matter who you are. You know what I mean? And if a person goes there, especially if they're a person like me that feels the energy, sees the spirit, see everything that goes on in this country, I'm not going to back an eye on it and say this is not true. Versus when I went to Thailand, I didn't have that type of feeling. It was just more so people capitalizing with other people. Everything is so sexualized over there. It's just a whole jungle in Thailand. And I'm sure that at some point Thailand had that cultural thing that they implemented with the Khmer people at the time. But I'm sure that all that faded away when, you know, the UNs came in and they wound up buying out lands from different sources, different countries, buying out lands. And they start building their own cities, their own towns and stuff like that. And it just became what it is today. You know, so all I'm saying is that Cambodia has an ancient DNA, just like I believe we have ancient DNA as well. We could trace ourselves back almost 100,000 years. And you could only have the other people trace their empire. Like America is only about, what, 200, 300 years at most? You know, so this American empire is not as old or as more so like a, how can I say it? It's fairly new to a lot of people. They had their ancestors come to our lands and take over our resources and stuff like this. This is new. This is the new world to them here. You know, it's not new to us. And once we find out who we are, I can guarantee you our DNA is going to tell a story that is going to explode everybody's minds. And I sound crazy right now about speaking the way I'm speaking to you about this whole DNA ancient thing. But once we get an uprise in the future, you would definitely see what I mean. And like I always been saying from the beginning, you can't trust either side. You can't. There's no way that anybody can sit back here and tell me otherwise. Because you got to look at it in this way too. Cambodia is being pretty much bought out by all these different entities. And all these different entities are pretty much countries around the world. You have Vietnamese coming to the lands of Cambodia, buying up a bunch of land, opening up a bunch of businesses. Nobody really talks about that at all because it's not in the forefront. It's not in the news as with Thailand and Cambodia with this border thing going on. And you have people from China coming over here buying major billion-dollar companies. And I support the airport. I think it was time for Cambodia to get a new airport. But when you trace the money and you follow whose investors are in the investment game and you find out the market, you understand that it's not about the spirit of Cambodia. It's about what they can get out of it. And that's what I think this airport is pretty much just made out of. It's just more money being invested to them because they know that the airport there that they had before isn't something appealing or whatever the case is. And then they wind up building a bigger airport. They bring in bigger trades. They bring in bigger, opportunities for China as well. Not just Cambodia. Cambodia, I would say they would benefit from like the jobs, more of them having jobs and stuff like this. But if you really look at the monopoly of it, it's more so Chinese is pretty much the ringleader of, the market in Cambodia. Man, it's just so much. And then you have Thai. Thai is another thing, but we already know about Thai and how they, claim land, don't want to go to the courts and all this stuff. But like I said, all this plays in the hands of both governments, because I believe both governments are in the same bed together, making money, bringing up fake narratives about each other, so that people could be distracted and fight amongst each other and not see the bigger picture. I know I kind of went off well, but anyway, this video was really good and I appreciate this video. Please follow on Mystic Voyage and I will see y'all in the next one. Thank you for watching. I'm out.